Today I'm going to show you guys how to set up a Nano Reef on a budget. Hey guys, Devin with ReefDudes. Now today I'm setting up a temporary reef before I get my newer Nano for the Nano Challenge. So we'll get into that in a bit, but first I'm going to show you guys how to do a reef tank on a budget. I just grabbed this tank off a buddy, but you can easily a tank you pick up pretty cheap. It's just a little, I don't even know what size it is, probably like a 10 gallon or less. But as you can see, there's a bit of haze and stuff on it, so first thing we want to do is clean it up. So I'm actually using a stainless steel 2-inch razor blade and just scraping the edge of the tank. And this is probably the easiest way to clean algae and crud and other stuff off the tank. So the biggest thing is you want to make sure the tank is always wet when you're doing this. If it's dry with the razor blade, you could scratch, but if it's wet, you don't have to worry about scratches. Also make sure it's a nice, clean, crisp edge. Make sure there's no rust or pits or anything on it. And you'll be okay to clean the glass. One thing is you want to make sure that you're very careful around the silicone seams. You don't want to hit them with the razor blade, or else it'll kind of reduce the bond. Now, because this is a bow front, on the curved edges, you want to make sure you go horizontally. That way it keeps the razor blade flat against the glass and you don't have the corners hitting it. This will help prevent any scratches. Now that we got the tank all cleaned up, the next step is going to be add some sand and some rock. Now, if you're starting with dry sand or live sand and dry rock, you're going to want to make sure you cycle the tank properly first. Now, if you have never cycled a tank before, I'll leave a link in the description below to one of our previous videos explaining the nitrogen cycle. Now, because I have my large reef over here, it's going to really speed things up for me. I'm going to take some of the sand out of this tank and put it on the bottom, as well as I'm going to take a few chunks of live rock. I have that one I just temporarily added, and that one is just added today, so it's not completely live yet. There's that one, and I have a few little chunks of my sump that have been down here for a little while, and some marine pure balls, so I'm going to take those and I'm going to put those inside of the tank so they'll all be full of bacteria. So I'll have that, as well as some sand, live sand, and probably a marine pure ball or two. So there's going to be a ton of live bacteria to work with and basically instantly cycle the tank. Now, if you don't have a tank you can steal all this stuff from, you'll definitely want to make sure you cycle the tank properly, so check out that video, the link's below, or I'll put a copy at the end of this video. So as I mentioned previously, if you were starting this as a brand new tank without a tank to take all that bacteria from, you'd want to start with, live sand ideally. You'd add your rock and do a bacteria starter like Dr. Tim's is one I personally used and had success. Another one I've heard good things was called ATM Colony. Now those have been both great ones to help kind of almost do an instant cycle in your tank so you can add fish right away. Now, because I have this established tank, it's already going to be full of live bacteria, so I'm just going to save myself a little bit of money and use sand stuff straight out of my tank. Now, given this is a temporary tank, I don't want to have a ton of sand in it, so I'm going to do just enough to cover the bottom of the glass, as most of us will be moving to a new tank in probably a month or so. So the sand bed is a ton of surface area, it holds lots of good bacteria. Now some people do go bare bottom. They do say it is kind of less maintenance in the fact that there's less detritus and less stuff in it, but I personally just love the look of sand, so that's the way we're going to go with this tank. We'll probably fill it about halfway up and then we'll get the rock in it and get our little skate going, and then we'll get our tank moved to its future home. Alright, so we got it about half full of sand. Now I'm going to add my one big rock to the tank. Now this really cool chunk of rock came in my box of Carib Sea Life Rock. This is the first one to go in. This is one of the newer ones. Next I'm going to find a couple of the sump that have been in there for a while. Now for filtration, our live rock and live sand is going to be a majority of the filtration. And I'm also going to add this little hang on the back. It's a little Azoo hang on the back filter. Super cheap, it was like $15 off Amazon. So I'm going to add this in with a bag of carbon, which will help keep the water nice and clear, and I'll probably try and put in a marine pure ball or two inside of it. So that will kind of take care of a little extra boost to the filtration of the tank and keep the water clear with lots of beneficial bacteria. So we got our bag of carbon in. Next, for a heater, I'm going to be using a cobalt neotherm heater just because this one's nice and thin and black, so it kind of blends into the back of the tank. There, so I'm going to sneak that heater sideways along the back of the tank, and we hopefully won't really be able to notice inside the tank. Now, if you're mixing salt water for the first time, you want to make sure you pick up a hydrometer or a refractometer. What that's going to do is let you know how much salt is in your water, and you can get it to the right ratio for your tank and for your fish. These are the cheaper options for about $5 to $10. All you do is fill it with water, and you watch and see where the bobber sits. They're not the most accurate in the world because there's any air bubbles in there, it can mess with it, but it's a cheap, easy way to get started. I would highly recommend that you pick up a refractometer. With these, you just put a bit of water on it, you hold it up to the light, and the little angle's exactly on the right level, so it's very easy to see it, and it's a more accurate way to test your water. Tank in its temporary spot. I got the little hang on the back filter on the back. I put the heater in and I put it to about 77, 78 degrees. I'm going to top it off the water and get everything rolling. Now I do have the heater right behind this first rock, and I did that on purpose so that the water falls onto that rock. So it should be enough to get things started. Now we may have to add a little power head, but we'll see how much flow this adds to the tank. It might just be enough with this little hang on the back filter. So since we're using cycled sand and about half the rock in there has already been pre-cycled, the tank should be more or less ready to add a fish. If it's a new tank, again, you'll want to use Dr. Tim's or a different type of live bacteria to get things started. So we've got our tank set up and running now. It's been running for a little bit, so the waters should be heated and cycled through. We also have a bag of carbon in the filter, and the fish just showed up. So just in time to get these little guys in their home. Alright, so first and foremost, we've got 3 sexy shrimp. So there's sexy shrimp number 1. Now I may have to take a bit of water out of the tank, just so it doesn't overflow. Yeah. Let's take out a bit of water until we get all our stuff in there and acclimated. We got 1 sexy shrimp. We have a little hyphen goby. Super cute little guys. I've been wanting one of these for a while, and it's a good excuse. So these guys only grow up to about a max of 2 inches, so it'll be perfect for a nano. And this we have another sexy shrimp. And sexy shrimp number 3. If you guys haven't seen them before, they're super cute little shrimp that just shake their butt around. And this guy is a pygmy goby. So these are super tiny. Never had these guys before, but should be a cool little nano fish. Now we're going to let these float for about 20 minutes, and then we'll start acclimating them. So the bag's been floating for 20 or 30 minutes now, so the temperature should be pretty even. So I'm going to take a bit of the tank water and put it to my acclimation bucket. And then I'm going to dump out the water from the bags into this bucket. So it starts to mix with the tank water, and if there's any changes in kind of pH or the parameters, it will ease them into it. So for these, I'm just going to use a razor blade and cut the bag open. It's a nice gentle transition just to get them into the water. What I'm going to do is add some tank water every little bit and mix it in with the shipping water. And we'll get these guys acclimated, we'll catch them and get them put in the tank. Got the hyphen in the back, we've got our couple of sexy shrimp, and we got a little pygmy goby. These guys are all super tiny, so hopefully I can put a few more different varieties in. So one of the things I'm going to really try and do with this tank is keep it kind of just scale. So if I get lots of tiny fish, I find it much cooler than just 1 or 2 big fish. So. And again, this is for a nano, so I mean, really, all these fish are pretty tiny, and any regular fish should be considered big. Now, just want to rephrase this again. Yeah, I set up the tank and I'm putting everything in the same day, but I'm also using media, sand, and rock from an established aquarium, so the tank is basically already cycled. On a new tank, you definitely want to make sure you're using some kind of denitrifying bacteria so you make sure all your habits are safe, and you also want to add stuff slowly, like a fish or two, and a couple weeks later add another one. Now these guys are extremely tiny to have next to no bioload, so all the media that's been pre-cycled should be able to handle these guys no problem. So now it's the next day, we got the Nano up and running. Hopefully you guys learned something. If it's your first saltwater tank, got any questions, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you want to participate in the Nano challenge, I also have links for that, as well as all the equipment I used to set up this tank on a budget. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I hope I inspired some of you guys to start your own nano tank. If you guys want to join in the challenge, be sure to check the links below, and I will link it to the website with all the details and the rules for it. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit that bell to follow along for future updates.